So welcome everybody to another short webinar series from Skybow with the topic of today, which is form styling, all about how you can make your SharePoint forms look pretty. So today, your host, it's me, Matthias Walter. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Skybow, and yeah, you can always reach me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, if you have any questions also after the webinar. And in general, I have my colleagues with me in the background. If you have any questions, just ask them in the chat or raise your hand. I can unmute you. So you have these two options. And also at the end of the webinar, we will do a very short question round. Good. So maybe first of all, let me tell you real quick about the out-of-the-box formatting possibilities. There are two of them, and first of all, there is for sure the option to use JSON. You can edit a form. You have three options. You can edit the header, the body, and the footer of your form with this JSON notation, which is, which can be quite complex. You have to know how to write the structure, and it's also very difficult if you have some incorrect JSON, an incorrect JSON format. So maybe somewhere you are missing a bracket or whatever, and also how this would look like, what you can add. I mean, in the end, it's all well described, but it's not really, if you ask me, it's not really something for power users. So you have to be very skilled to use these formatting options. And also you're limited to header, footer, and body section only. Yeah, and then for sure a more advanced option is to use Power Apps. With Power Apps embedded with the Canvas apps, those are the two out-of-the-box possibilities, how you can change your forms. So I would have one question before we start and going into how you can use it with Skybow. Maybe let's launch a quick poll. So are you using JSON? Do you know that option already? Maybe Power Apps, or maybe already Skybow? Or no of these options? Maybe you don't use that at all. So I'm interested in this. Maybe you use more of them. All right. So then thanks. We will leave that poll open for some more seconds, and I will proceed here. So a lot of you are using Power Apps. Okay, nice, interesting. So hopefully I can show you some cool stuff here as well. Good. Now with Skybow, Modern Forms, you have a couple of options that you can do. And this is a form, how it can look like, and I will show you that in the demo right afterwards, how you can build that one. But in general, we do have on the form builder, we do have a rich text control. So you can add a rich text. For example, this here on the top, which is just a rich text. Also the footer is just a rich text. You can place it actually anywhere on the form and then use it as you would type in something in Word. Just make it bold, make it bigger, make it a heading one, etc., etc. So that's a separate control you can use on the form and place it just anywhere to have some explanation text or images, whatever. Then second thing you can do is we have a form styling editor. What's the one you see here on the right? And it's divided into two sections. We have the general form styles and we have control styles. So the general form styles are just, let's say, the styles in general for all the fields, for all the tabs. So for example, this border around the tab is added as a general style. So every tab gets the screen border, for example. And also the fields. The fields having the label on the left side and the text box on the right side and so on. Those are added with general styles. And then the control styles are the ones which are really bound to a specific control, and the control can be everything. A control can be a button here on the top, it can be a tab, it can be a field, it can be everything on the form is a control, and we can have separate styles which are more, if you add a control styles, then it's more specific and it would override the general style. I will show you that in the demo afterwards. And the builder looks like this, so it should be a quite simple and easy to understand form designer. You just choose the color with some editors, make it bold, etc. Yeah, and then what you see here is we can also load styles under a certain condition. So sometimes that makes sense that a style is not there all the time. So it's only there if something is like a status or to highlight something, and that was done in my scenario is done with this control, with this field here, the assign to field, where we've added a style, an error style, to make it more prominent, because out of the box you just have this little red text. If it's empty, for example, and the required field, then you would see only this little red text, and here we can add a red bold style, but this should only be visible if the field is not valid, and if it's valid then it's not visible. So that can be done with a condition. So we have a style and this is only loaded under certain condition. Then we always have the option to input and export these styles, what you see here on the top. It's also included in the form export itself. There's also one level higher, we also have an export, and the form styles are integrated there as well. And we can also copy styles. So if I have added the style for one single field and I want to have a similar style or the same style on another field, I can simply copy that style. And last but not least, it's all customizable, because at the bottom of the editor we have a box where we see CSS, because in the very end it generates CSS. So if you're familiar with CSS, you can add your own CSS and change the styles you need all the time. So those are all the options, and the form we are going to build together will look like this, and that will be the demo I'm going to dive in right now. So switching over to my site, what I'm using here is a standard SharePoint issue list. So if you go to SharePoint and create a new list, then you have these templates, and the only thing I did is I've taken this issue tracker list. That's my basic base list. That's the one here. And now to show you first the out-of-the-box possibilities, I'm going to open up the new form, which is still the out-of-the-box one, and here at the upper right corner you will find these out-of-the-box options. So you can show and hide the columns, can configure the layout, and you can use Power Apps for sure. So first scenario is I'm going to configure the layout here and do quick one for the header, and therefore you will find the documentation under this link, and there's also, we will post that afterwards in the video in the description below, this one here, which is on GitHub, some samples, and the one I'm going to take is this dashed line header. So that's the one. It simply takes a title and a description field, and yeah, you can make it left, center, or right bound, and I'm taking the normal one. That's my JSON. I can copy that one if I have a field which is called title and the description. Those are the fields. I can simply paste that in here, and I can click preview, type in, you see how it behaves. So that's how it will look like if you use out of the box. You can do that in the header, in the footer, and also in the body. Let me save that. But of course you have to understand how this will work, how to change how these classes are called, etc., etc. Now let me switch over to how you can do that with skybow. So if you have skybow Modern Forms installed on your SharePoint, you will see this button here in the command bar. If you click, you see the three different forms we have, the new form, the edit form, and the display form. And for my scenario, I'm going to customize the edit form because the new form we've done with the out-of-the-box possibilities. So I simply click on customize, and I'm redirected to the form builder, which will look like this. And in the form builder, there's another webinar about the general form builder. We will link that one as well in the video. I'm going to add a header section by simply adding a new one column here on the top, and then with the plus we can add the fields, or that's the one the control I was talking about, it's rich text. So I'm adding a rich text, and here I can simply type in for example issue, and in here I can use also placeholders, and the placeholders within skybow are just using double brackets. So double brackets title, for example, that's the internal field name, that will show me the title. Enter, maybe description, and then double brackets description. Now let me make this one maybe heading 1. This one I'm going to say it's 16 pixels, like this. Okay, and that's it for now. And here below I'm going to change this section here, this row, in the row configuration, and change it from 1 column, which is the default, to 2 columns, for example. Now I have 2 columns, and I can simply drag and drop my fields by dragging it on the label. I can reorder them here. I can put some of the fields over there on the right column, like this. And for now that's okay. I will simply go ahead and save that. And then I'm going back to my list, refresh it. And now if I'm right-click and edit, or also edit here, it doesn't matter, skybow is fully integrated. So if you click edit, then you see the form, and we already have the customizations that we just did right here. If I type in, it's changed up here. So that's my dynamic placeholder I've added here on the top. I have the 2 columns. Now it looks a little bit small, so I can also make that one bigger. That depends, of course, on your form. I will do that just afterwards. And another thing we see is we have the default title here on the top, which I would like to hide because I've added my own header. And another thing we're going to change right afterwards is this one here. I was talking about styles So this little red message, it's not really good. It's not very present. So yeah, you might oversee that, and I want to make that more prominent. All right. So click cancel, and I go back to my editor. So first of all, I want to make the panel a bit more wide. That's done in the form settings. I can click on form settings, and here you see I have a small, medium, large, or even full screen. I'm going for large, save it. And then I'm going to add some styles, and that's done with the styling editor here on the top. If I click on the styling button, we have these two sections I was talking about. We do have general styles and control styles. And to make it better, that you see it better, we do have this expand button, and then we have it next to each other. So you see here we have all the general styles, fields, form title, and so on. And on the right side we have the control styles, which is a tree representation of my form. So I have the command bar. Let me go back here. That's the one here on the top. Command bar with two actions for now. I have one row with one column. That's the one here. Then I have another row with one and two columns. That's the one here. So you see each field in here. You see the columns, the rows, and so on. Even if I would add some more things like a tab, so I can also go ahead and change my form. I can add a tab control, like this. Maybe real quick, change the title to issue details, give it an icon, so this one here, which is, for example, the warning list, this one. Okay. So this is my icon for the tab, and now I can drag the complete row down here with this move icon. I can drag inside the tab like this, and I have a tab with two columns inside. If I open up the styling again, that has been updated. So now you see I have one column, I have a tab called issue details, that's the one here, and I have two columns now inside tab. So first of all, I want to hide the title, this one here on the top, because that's like doubled. So I can simply click here and add a style. And I can do that everywhere. I can add a style on every line here, everything. And I can whether add the style from scratch, or I could copy an existing style from within the same form, but for now I don't have any other styles, that's why it's empty. So I simply go and say, I give it a title that I know what it's used for, like hide form title. Okay. And then for this style, hide form title, I have an editor which gives me all the possibilities I can do for the title. And I could change the color, this decoration, make it bold or whatever, or I can simply hide it. And down here you see it generates CSS style. It may display none. If I now preview, then this will disappear. And like this, I already have one style added which hides the title. The next one, another style could be on my this screen. I want to have the same style that we've done with the JSON out of the box. I want to make this one with a green background. So that's my row here. I'm going to add new style for that one, for this row. And I choose the background color to be this green. And here I can use theme colors, which means I don't have a static color. It takes the primary theme color like this. If you change the theme later on to like orange or red or whatever style, blue, then this will change as well. So My style here was using a dashed white border, and this one I'm adding on the column inside. So I add another style here, and I simply say I want to have a 3-pixel dashed border in the color here, which is white. Okay, and this is added outside, and since this option is not available in our editor because we have not everything supported, but I'm able to extend that down here. I can say I want to have a margin of 10 pixels. Oops, sorry, 10 pixels. Okay, it's also added to the column, and then click preview, and I have exactly the same style. Now my font is probably too dark, so I simply select it here and make it white. And we already have same style as with the JSON out of the box, but without any coding. It's just all simple editor to choose the styles. Another thing I would like to add is the style on a certain control. And this time we're going to add a style on the, where is it? The assign to. So my assign to, I'm adding a new style, and down here we do have some templates. We can also choose existing styles or templates. We provide 3 of them. One is the error style, because that's used quite often. You can simply press error style, okay, next, and it gives you already a definition of an error style. I can preview it, okay, this is how it will look like. And now I need to add a rule because I don't want to have it all the time. And that's very simple. We have a very powerful expression builder in here, which is built in. And here we see all the columns available. And what I need to do is on every field, there is a property called is invalid. That's also here, that's on every field we have this invalid. And or is changed. If it's changed, then mark it green or whatever. I'm taking the is invalid, double click, that's it already. That's a valid rule. Okay, if assigned to is invalid, all right, that's added to this field. And if I'm going to save again, and now I'm open up the form again, oops, reload to have it bigger because we've changed the size, edit. We already have a nice looking header, still works. If I remove Sophie from this, you see it's more prominent. We have this error style applied. If I would type in someone again, the style is not visible anymore. So it's really a conditional formatting style which is only loaded if a certain condition is true. Yeah. Now to give you an idea how a complete form, because the time is running, and I want to show you I will now import a finalized form with styles and everything, the one we saw in the presentation, and therefore I can use the import option. We do have import, like I said, we do have import on the style section only, which means we can import styles. Also on each style I can export the style or I can import the style, so really each style separate. But I can do that also on a form level. So the whole form with everything, not just the styles. So the whole form, the whole layout, and the whole logic in the form. I made an export before, and I can simply use the import. It's a JSON file as well, so it's readable, very simple to understand. But you don't have to write it by yourself, but because I exported it up front, I simply say import. It recognizes what is in that import file. So it's everything, it's form settings, we have actions, and I can again say, okay, I don't want to override this and that. We don't have form load actions, that's why it's disabled. I can simply go as it is, styles are down here. I could even import a file form without styles, so I simply deselect that one. But now I want to have the styles included, so I say yes. And my final form looks still pretty much the same, but for example, I've added a footer, I've added 2 tabs, and a couple of styles. For example, on the tab, I've added some styles that the tab looks has like a light gray background. I have styled the buttons here on the top. So if we look at the styling now, we have some more styles in here. And it's simply done by this import. And if I now click save, look how the final form will look like, then it could look like this. So I have a nice looking footer, a header, some buttons here on top, gray background. Yeah, and also the borders are in this screen. And now, since this is not hard-coded, I will show you if I'm now changing the look from my SharePoint site, the theme, to something else, not the green one. Let's take something orange. I'm switching over to orange. Now the rest from SharePoint is getting orange, and if I reload, our form is in orange as well, because we've used theme colors, and so it always applies to your theme of the current site. Yes, so that was a quick demo on all the possibilities. If you're interested in testing the product, there is a free trial available for 30 days. Simply, you will find it in the store or on our website. Yeah, are there any questions? Let me check the chat. So there is one person. Okay. Let me give you the mic. So, hi Dan. Do you have the mic available?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Thank you. Great presentation, by the way. Thank you.
Thanks.
I noticed in the customized styling that you uploaded, or the customized form that you uploaded at the end, you had a space between the 2 tab groups, and I wanted to see how you achieve that space.
You mean this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's simply done with 2 sections.
Okay, so there's padding built into the sections?
Yep. So I have this section and I have another section. Yeah, you're right. If I would put this tab directly here, then there's no space in between.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That was it.
Yeah. You're welcome. Good. Other questions? Okay. There is one question about what are the limitations of skybow compared to Power Apps? Or is skybow just as powerful as the Power Apps in the forms? A good question. I would say they where Power Apps is more powerful is with all the connectors. There are a lot of connectors to all the different external systems, but on our side we also have a very powerful action builder, which is fully integrated. So that we can extend these buttons here on the top, and there you can already do a lot without using Power Automate, because that's the other thing. With Power Apps you always have to use a Power Automate or multiple Power Automates to do like workflows or business logic, and that's not needed in a lot of cases in our product. So, but there are definitely use cases where you would have to go. For example, Power Apps is also having a native client, and we are fully embedded into SharePoint. So that's another difference. On the other hand, we are fully integrated. So also the form is like responsive by default. So if I'm going to switch to mobile, then the exact same form will also work on a mobile. And you don't have to design it twice. It's always the same. It's just one form. Yeah, hope it's answering your question. Otherwise, let me know. um, all right. Yeah, Ralph, that's a good point. That our product, yeah, is definitely a good replacement for the out-of-the-box possibilities. So this JSON stuff here. But yeah, for Power Apps, there are some different use cases which are not covered by skybow. But we build even processes and workflows all within this tool, with actions and everything, and it's also, that was at least my experience, Power Apps is meant to be for power users, but you have to be quite experienced to use it. And with our editor, I think you really can give it to a power user who can build already a lot and design everything quite easily. And of course, if there are more complex stuff needed, then yeah, you can hand it over to a more experienced user or a developer. Yeah. Yes. Good. Um, Good. Yeah, Chris Kent. Yeah, there are other ones which really build nice stuff into the whole JSON formatting. I mean, also on the view, etc. I'm also using this JSON formatting options, which are quite nice. Good. Then we are already 5 minutes over time. If you have other questions, you can always contact me, like I said, on LinkedIn or on via email. Yeah, and just last but not least, join already now the next webinar. It will be on May 3rd, same time, 4:30 p.m. It will be about scheduled and triggered actions, which is a feature in our Solution Studio. Great. Then, thanks a lot for joining today, and I wish you all a nice evening or a nice day.